Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to do my Master Santiago playoff Pickems. Here we go. Now, in terms of my Pick'em for the earlier parts of this event, I mean, I was the biggest I was literally on Platchat saying I was a T1 doubter. I mean, all I had to do was just stick with my convictions and I would have been perfectly correct. On earth did I think well, I tell you why it was. It's because I was a big G2 believer. That was my problem. And you might remember that I predicted G2 to win the whole event before the event started. I am not feeling good about that right now. And I think that's why I was so doubtful on Paper X, is because I thought, well, I think G2 will win the event, so I think they will win their first game, and therefore Paper X might go out. That obviously did not happen. None of that happened. So hopefully my predictions are better, for this. So yeah, stick around because this time I'm gonna tell you the truth. Now, I did predict G2 to win the event. And as I say, I don't feel particularly great about that. However, the gods have conspired to potentially give G2 a potential path to winning this tournament, even though they don't look that great. Let me take you through that path, okay? And stick with me of how my initial prediction could still be correct. Here's how it happened. So obviously they got the easiest draw in AG, right? I think most people will pick them to beat AG. So we can start there. That is fine, right? Then they will play the winner of Nongshim versus Gentlemates. Now, whoever wins this game, G2 will have a chance against, right? I think they would probably be underdogs against whoever won this game. I think their better chances if Gentlemates win, because if Nongshim win, that means that Nongshim must actually be pretty good. And so I think Gentlemates winning would be their better chance. Let's say that Gentlemates win, but this could be true if Nongshim won as well, right? That G2 playing against, an inexperienced team at this stage of a tournament, could lock in, could get a good map veto, all of that kind of thing, and they win this game. And then you might be like, well, how on earth are they going to go further than this? Well, here's how they do it, right? They go, NRG win this game, and even Paper X can win that game. And then NRG beat Paper X in the rematch, right? That's not that unreasonable with how close the first game was. Then we would get G2 versus NRG. And for those of you who are knowers, you will know that NRG cannot beat G2. There is a cursed spell upon NRG where they must always lose to G2. And then it does not matter who they play in the grand final, because I do really believe whoever wins this upper final, I don't think any team, Paper X, NRG, whoever, I don't think any team has that good of a map pool that they should be able to win this without the 2 bans. I think having a 2 ban in this particular tournament, I think that's true for all of the first events, right? That the teams just haven't got a full map pool at this point of an event. They have weak maps. We've seen it pretty much from most teams. Like Paper X didn't look that good on Pearl, for instance, against NRG, right? Pretty much every team is going to have maps that they aren't that great at. And so therefore, I think if you win the upper final, you have a good chance of winning the grand final. And therefore, there is a path for G2. It does need to be probably this particular path, but there is a path. And so that would make my initial prediction correct. However, I don't think that's going to happen. And so instead, let's talk about what I actually think is going to happen. I do think that G2 will beat AG. I think, again, most people will probably have that just because of how bad the Chinese teams looked, of course. And personally, I think that XLG actually were better than AG. I would be shocked if AG won a game. Genuinely shocked. I'm going to come back to this Nongshim Mates game because I do think that that's a pretty tough one to call. But Paper X versus Furia. Sorry, Furia, but Paper X obviously have looked incredibly good. And then you've got the kind of 2 tough games to call, I think. Now, when I was on Platchat, let's start with this Platchat, VODfathers. When I was on VODfathers, we did a pick'em at the end of that, and both Sideshow and Shio picked BBL, and I picked NRG. And I think that this kind of shows that people are, like actually pretty high on BBL. And I am also pretty high on BBL. I don't think they'll do bad in this tournament whatsoever. But I think I'm just higher on NRG maybe than Shio or Sideshow were, or maybe the general consensus is. And the reason for that is because I feel like everyone's pretty high on Paper X, but NRG played a very close game against Paper X. And I think they've looked very good in their other games as well. And so I'm just feeling pretty high about NRG right now. As a whole, I think that they played a pretty close game against what I would argue has been the best team so far in Paper X. And therefore, I'm going to go NRG. Again, I would expect this to be close because I think BBL are pretty good, but I do think NRG, with their experience and how they've played, will get through it. Now, Nongshim versus Mates. At this point, I've picked three teams to win from here, and sometimes narratives just become reality, and I can definitely see that we are set up, especially with this kind of, like if someone else was playing G2, like if Nongshim were playing G2, I'd pick Nongshim, right? Like if BBL were playing G2, I'd pick BBL, and I'd feel good about it. But the way that this is set up for these first seed teams to fail, and I can already see the narrative happening. So I am gonna pick Gentlemates as that narrative happening. Again, am I a disbeliever in Nongshim? Not really, because I need them to do well for my VFL. But I could see this happening. I feel like the draw has happened in such a way where this feels like it is on. This could happen. So I am going to pick Gentlemates there. And whoever wins this Nongshim Gentlemates game, I think will be favored against G2. And is actually in a very good position to make it to an upper final. And that is what I'm going to predict here for Gentlemates, because I think that they have looked better than G2. Martina's playing fantastic, of course. And so I will go for them in that upper semi-final. Paper Rex versus NRG. See, this is the thing about Paper Rex, right? When they get to this stage of a tournament, even before they won Toronto, right? In a lot of the tournaments, past and prior, they tend to be pretty good at this stage of the tournament, right? If they've already won a couple games, they tend to lock in, right? And then normally towards the end is when they start to fail. So I'm going to say that they will lock in here. And again, just probably squeak past NRG and manage to get to the upper final. So I'm going to go for a Paper X winning that there. Then coming to the lowers, again, I'm going to have Nongshim beating AG, and I am going to have BBL beating Furia. On Furia's part, I think, look, I think they might end up being underrated in this tournament because they've ended up on a very difficult side of the bracket. Like, literally, no matter how these games go, they're going to be in a really tough game. And so it wouldn't shock me if they go 0-2, but they might not even play that bad and go 0-2, if you know what I mean. Like, they might actually be pretty good, and they just got really hard games. Then we got NRG versus Nongshim. I'm going to, again, I am going to go for NRG because, as I say, I am an NRG believer, I suppose. And I am going to go for BBL over G2 as well because, again, I'm not really that high on G2, to be honest, despite picking them to win the event at the first part. Then I will go NRG beating BBL there in lower round 3. I'm going to go Paper X over Gentlemates in the upper final. I'm going to go NRG over Gentlemates in the lower final. And I am just essentially picking what we have seen. Now, normally I don't like to do this, right? Normally there is some sort of shocks and upsets, but I would say the best two teams we have seen thus far are these two. Can one of the 1 seed teams, maybe upset that apple cart a bit? Yeah, sure. But I think these two have looked like the best teams so far, and this tournament so far has generally played out as, oh, this team is just better, so they won. That's basically what we've seen. I mean, there's only been one close game, really. There's only been one 3-map game. And it was these two teams. And so I'm going to say that we get here. But as I said in the G2 part, I do think at this stage of the season, whoever wins the upper final, getting that double map ban, I think will just be too much. And so I will pick Paper X to go and do it. And so yeah, I'm picking Paper X to win the tournament. You're right, that is me cursing Paper X at this tournament perhaps as well, because again, teams that I pick generally don't do very well. But if Paper X don't win this tournament, or if Paper X don't do well, that means we're in for quite a few upsets, and we're probably in for a bit of a crazy tournament. So honestly, I'm kind of down for it. Sorry, Paper X fans, that I'm having to sacrifice you here, but it might lead to the better interests of us all.